Rachel, should we? Rachel, there has been some criticism of the Prime Minister and what she had to say as part of her speech today. Do you think it was electioneering?
Yes, I do. And I have to say, I did not expect to be talking about this, the day after this grotesque attack on a city that I love, and at a time when obviously our hearts are with the families and the friends of people who have lost lives, and all our thoughts wishing and willing the injured to pull through to be okay. But then the Prime Minister did politicise the attacks in a way that I can't be the only one to have found that manipulative. And so if she does want to talk about government policy with regard to counter-extremism, then let's talk about it. But let's also talk about how her government has failed to counter extremism, how their very policies are making things worse.
Okay, let's bring in Jim, should we? So I'm not sure that you can hear what Rachel's saying. So basically, she's saying that yes, the Prime Minister was electioneering, and in addition to that, her policies have failed when it comes to extremism.
Yeah, so there's two things that Labour are going to really try and get back on the campaign trail with. One is the idea that Theresa May is responsible for some of the security policing cuts, the austerity measures, try and make it relevant to this incident. And the other one is Theresa May's decision to go in very hard on the internet companies. Now, that's something that she didn't need to put in that speech this morning. She didn't need to reference what's going on with Google and Facebook, but she chose to put what's quite a major Conservative Party policy in terms of trying to get these companies to open up their systems, to undo encryption, and to sort of give a backdoor to the government. She put that right in the centre of her response to this attack today.
Is that fair?
Well, I think Labour are furious at that because they feel that immediately invalidated the sort of truce that had been called. But we've got Jeremy Corbyn tonight. He's going to be giving a speech up in Carlisle less than 24 hours after the attack. So they're not messing about. And unlike Manchester, we saw 3 days without anything much happening while we had the threat level raised critical. This time around, no one is messing about. The election is going to go on. I think by Monday, things will be pretty much back to normal.
Do you agree with that, Rachel?
Do I agree? It has been politicised. Yes, I do, and I do think that we need to talk.
Do you agree that things have gone very much back to normal very quickly compared to what we saw in Manchester? And if so, why do you think that that is the case this time round? Is it because the general election is just so close now?
The general election has to go ahead. Of course it does. We cannot shut down our democratic processes because of a terror attack that is designed to attack our very democracy. But we were going to talk about some of the things that Theresa May has been talking about this morning. What Jim was talking about in terms of online measures is correct, but let's talk about the government's policy and how it's failing. I mean, just one example, there are foreign policy examples and there are domestic counter-radicalization examples, but just one example, Saudi Arabia, a country that we are allied to and are selling arms to. There is currently an inquiry. Saudi Arabia it's not the only country, but it is one of the countries that is one of the main sponsors of violent extremism. There is currently an inquiry, a government inquiry into funding of extremism, which is thought to have quite a lot to say about Saudi Arabia. This government has currently shut down and suppressed that inquiry. And we are funding, we are selling arms to a country that is currently engaged in a brutal war with Yemen, which is having a devastating effect on its civilians, but is also creating exactly the sort of conditions into which groups like Al-Qaeda and Daesh, Islamic State, can thrive. What possible justification is there for this government policy? And isn't it exactly the kind of tolerance of extremism that Theresa May has just accused us?
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.